The fairy tale towns under the magical wings of the swallow. Chapter 1. The Ruby of Generosity. Because Bralia is the gift of the Danube. There is a picturesque city in Muntenia, eastern Romania, on a hill along the banks of the Danube. There rises this city called Bralia, with its wide streets and boulevards, with beautiful green parks and majestic buildings, creating the image of an occidental capital, a gift of the Danube. Just like Egypt is a gift of the Nile, Bralia, as a major port on the navigable Danube, is related to two essential lands, the Orient and the Occident. In this city there is a big square. A column is in the middle of the square. A very beautiful statue stands on top of the big marble column. The statue is the Happy Prince. He is a very beautiful prince. There are leaves of gold all over his body. He has got two bright sapphires instead of eyes. At the top of his sword is a large red ruby. He is a magnificent sight. People walk in the square and look at the beautiful statue of the Happy Prince. Aren't we lucky, they say. We have a beautiful statue in our city. There is a little swallow by the Danube River. He is in love with a beautiful reed. The reed lives by the Danube River. She is very happy. Please, please come to Egypt with me, says the swallow to the reed. The reed just smiles. The wind blows and she dances a little. Winter is coming, says the swallow. It's very cold here in winter. The reed is still smiling, but she does not move. You're not coming with me, says the swallow sadly. I must go now. It is getting cold, he says. He's late. There is no other swallows left. Goodbye, my beautiful reed, he says. Then he leaves. The swallow flies all day. He is tired and he wants to sleep. He flies over the square in the big city, and he looks at the beautiful statue high above the city. He really likes that place. This is a good place, he thinks. I can sleep here. The little bird lands at the feet of the statue. You are very beautiful, he says to the statue. Now I must sleep. I am very tired. Good night. He puts his head under his wing and closes his eyes. He is about to fall to sleep when a drop of water falls on him. What's that, he asks. Rain? Then he looks up. The Happy Prince is crying. Why are you crying? He asks the beautiful statue of the Happy Prince. The Happy Prince is crying. His eyes are full of tears. The tears are running down his golden cheeks. The little swallow is amazed. Who are you? He asks. I am the Happy Prince, answers the statue. Why are you crying then? Asks the swallow. I am all wet. I am called Happy Prince because when I was a human, I was hurting people and this made me happy. I'm very sad and that's the reason why I'm crying. Are you always sad? Asks the little swallow. When I was alive, I was never sad, answers the statue. I'm from Neverland. I lived in a beautiful place where no one was sad. Everyone was happy. What happened? Asked the swallow. I was cursed by a witch called Maleficent that transformed me into a statue and sent me to this square, answers the prince. And the only thing that can help me get back to my land is to help people and make them happy by distributing all his rubies. This is very sad, says the swallow. But now you are up here, you can look at your beautiful city down there with its circular and straight streets fanning out from the centre, with semicircular streets intersecting them. It's only the straight boulevards which lead out of the city, while the others are born and die within. Some, starting at the Danube, form a semicircle and come to an end on the other side of the town, embracing the city like a lover embracing his girlfriend. The swallow continued to explain why Bralia is a wonderful city. The wide green curve bordering the city to the southeast is the Danube, on which float various mobile toys the ships. For the residents of Bralia, the Danube is a liquid universe, steadily and ceaselessly flowing by, not in a hurry and brooking no obstacles. The river called Dunaris in years past, and then Danube by the Dacian shepherds and fishermen, gives life to the city and its citizens as well. Sometimes I think I don't deserve to stay in this beautiful city, to see the Danube every day, says the happy prince. Oh, don't say that, it's enough to hear the name Danube, and it conjures up an entire world with that single word. It is the port which makes Bralia different from other cities, which may seem like monasteries enclosed within their walls. Bralia is open, it gives and is given, offers and receives. It is like a mediating sea. It is like a beach of life sitting on the cliff. The traveller's look dives down onto the wide quays of the port and on the liquid avenue of the Danube, full of tugboats and barges. I know everything in Bralia has a wide horizon. Everything is magnificent and well organised, and all bears a seal of absolute order, says the happy prince as he begins crying again. Then why are you crying? Well, before I was not as kind as I am now. I was rude to all my people and did not care about them. Now I am high above the city and I can see the beautiful things. I can also see the misery, says the prince with tears in his eyes. Oh, please don't cry. You're making me very wet and very sad. Maybe you can help me, says the happy prince. How can I help you? I am just a poor little bird. You are a beautiful solid gold statue. Look, says the happy prince. Far away over there is a poor house in a little street. I can see a woman. She is sitting at the table. Her face is thin and sad. Her hands are rough and red because she is sewing all day long. The woman has a girl that is very sick, but her mother hasn't got any money. Little Swallow, can you see the ruby in my sword? It is the ruby of generosity, and my father gave it to me to help poor people. Please take it to the woman, says the happy prince. I cannot move because I am stuck here. Then the little swallow takes the ruby of generosity from the prince's sword. He holds it in his beak and flies over the city. He flies over the cathedral, over the St. Nicholas Church, the Emperor Trajan Monument, public garden, over the clock from Trajan Square and the kinetic fountain. He flies over the Danube River and he can see the lights of the ships. At last he reaches the poorhouse and puts the ruby on the table. The kind little swallow flies back to the statue of the happy prince. He sits at the prince's feet and smiles. I did my job, and it's strange I don't feel cold now. That is because you did something good, the happy prince tells him. He put his head under his wing and sleeps. The prince smiles. He is happy again.
Chapter 2, The Ruby of Love, because Ankara is the heart of Turkey. The next day the statue looks sad again. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, please stay with me one more night. Far away, in another city called Ankara, I can see a little kid sitting alone in his room, feeling sad. His parents are so busy working for companies, meeting with other people, trying to earn a lot of money. They don't have enough time for him to cuddle, to share, or to have some fun together. Little swallow, can you see the ruby on my hat? It's the ruby of love, and my mom gave it to me to remind me that love is the only thing they need. So please, take it to the family. They need to remember what love is and how to raise their kid with love. Kids are our treasures. They must be happy. Fly, beautiful swallow, fly away from there. You know I cannot move because I'm stuck here. Then the little swallow takes the ruby of love from the prince's hat. He holds it in his beak. He flies over the countries heading towards Ankara. Arriving at the city, he flies over Ataturk Orman Sifligi, Enit Kabir, the Ankara Castle, Rami Koç Museum, Hasi Bayram Mosque, Augustus Temple, Museum of Anatolian Civilizations, the Museum of Ethnography, Hadi Statue, Guven Park, the Grand National Assembly of Turkey, Kocatepe Mosque, Kugulu Park, Segmenler Park, Botanic Park, Atticuli, Amir Lake. He continues flying over the Mogan Lake and finally sees the beautiful house of the family in Golbasi and the boy whose cheeks are in his hands looking out of the window. He reaches the little boy and puts the ruby of love in his hands. The kind little swallow flies back to the statue of the happy prince. He sits at the prince's feet and smiles. I did my job, and it's strange. I don't feel cold now like before. That's because you did something good again, the happy prince tells him. He puts his head under his wing and sleeps. The prince smiles. He is happy again.
Chapter 3. The Ruby of Courtesy, because Killis is the center of kindness. The next day, the statue looks sad again. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, please stay with me one more night. Far away, in another city called Killis, I could see people who have to leave their homes and come to Killis. Some are injured, some are sick. People without homes, clothes, food. The people of Killis love to help these people and open their homes. But there is a man out there who does not want to help. This man is not aware of the importance of courtesy and kindness. Little swallow, can you see the ruby on my hat? The ruby of courtesy, and my dad gave it to me to remind the people that courtesy is the only thing they need. So please take it to the man. He needs to remember what courtesy is and how to behave towards those people who need help with kindness. All lives are precious. They must have the chance to live it freely. Fly, beautiful swallow, fly away there. You know I cannot move because I am stuck in here. Then the little swallow takes the ruby of courtesy from the prince's hat. He holds it in his beak. He flies over the countries heading to Killis. Arriving the city, he flies over Ravanda, Castle Antikyber, Mosque, Eastern Nature Park, Olim Huyuk, Pinyolgo Mosque, Talha Zubej Tom, Mehivivane, Ruhizade Mansion, Sheikh H. Mohammed bin Nadem Mausoleum, and lots of vineyards. He continues flying over the thousands of olive trees and finally sees the small house of the man in Polatale. The man is standing in front of the door looking at the trees. He reaches the man and puts the ruby of courtesy in his hands. The kind little swallow flies back to the statue of the happy prince. He sits at the prince's feet and smiles. I did my job, and it's strange. I don't feel cold now again. That is because you did something good again, the happy prince tells him. He puts his head under his wing and sleeps. The prince smiles. He is happy again.
Chapter 4. The Ruby of Peace, because Kanakale is the land of heroes. The next day the statue looks sad again. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, please stay with me one more night, far away in another city called Kanakale. I can see that mothers, brothers and sisters rushing to help without even thinking, and that 15-year-old Mehmets, Johnnies, Abdullahs, Georges, and many other children with many different names making it a legendary history. I can see soldiers who spend their meals with a piece of dry bread, stay sleepless in order to protect their homeland and shield themselves in front of the bullets without blinking their eyes, and continue fighting with one leg when one leg is broken off. The children there need to stay at a warm family home, not fight at that age, not be sleepless, but do their homework in the evenings. They need to go to school in the morning, laugh, have fun, have a good time with friends, play on the street, play ball in peace. Little swallow, can you see the ruby in my shield? It's the ruby of peace. My elders always told me that as long as mankind puts peace at the forefront, there is courage, heroism, goodness, benevolence in that society, and it will never disappear. The children there have the right to be like other children. Heroes now need to put an end to this war. Please take it to those children, says the happy prince. Fly, beautiful swallow, fly away there and bring peace. I cannot move because I am stuck here. Then the little swallow takes the ruby piece from the prince's shield. He holds it in his beak. He passes over the countries going to Kanakali. Upon arrival in the city, the unique view of the Dardanelles, the azure sea and the lush nature charm the little swallow. When he sees Kalit Bahir and Siminlik Castle, which stands on both sides of the Bosphorus with all their glory and carries the traces of history, he realises that this city actually smells of history. He glides into the battlefield, where the fumes rise, and stands next to a child who is not even able to walk through trenches, and gives him the ruby. The child does not know what to do, wants to ask the swallow, but little swallow has already flown. As he starts to think with the ruby in his hand and questions in his mind, he gets the good news. Peace has come. Everyone starts returning home. Children experience the joy of returning to their old lives and school. As little swallow continues to glide through the skies, he realises that the wounds have already started to heal. He sees the stopped passenger monument overlooking the Bosphorus. There is a soldier figure on this monument, and written below, "Stop, passenger. This land you step on is a place where an era has ended. This monument has already taken its place for humankind not to forget their past, to remember the importance of peace and their ancestors' heroism. Read the inscription on this monument, and while flying over the Martyrs' Monument, 57th Infantry Martyrdom, Anzac Cove, Haribunu, Konk Bahiri and Sedel Bahir village. The swallow thought what great heroes the people in this city are, and how much sacrifices they have made. When he sees that many of those who have been lying in the martyrdom he is flying over are just 15 years old, he no longer felt the weight of the wings he had flapped to bring that ruby. As he flies back to the statue of the happy prince, he passes over the city and now realises that people peacefully take photos in front of the Trojan horse in the square. They buy souvenirs from the bazaar with mirrors and visit the Museum of Sea, Ceramics and Archaeology. He realises what a great purpose it is to travel this long. Hearing the words, "Peace at home, peace in the world," among the happy voices below, he thinks what a beautiful motto this is. The kind little swallow flies back to the statue of the happy prince by scraping a unique view of Kanakali for the last time, and the scent of the Mount Ida, which contains 1,000 flowers. He sits at the prince's feet and smiles. "I did my job, and it's strange. I don't feel cold now." "That is because you did something good," the happy prince tells him. He puts his head under his wing and sleeps. The prince smiles. He is happy again.
Chapter 5. The Ruby of Humility, because Adiyaman is the kingdom of the sun. The next day, the statue looks sad again. "Swallow, swallow, little swallow, please stay with me one more night." Far away, in another city called Adiyaman, I can see an arrogant king who is constantly seeking others' admiration by showing off what he has achieved. He feels great love towards those who adore and praise him, but hate towards others who are indifferent. He has admiration only for himself and forgets his society. "Where does this arrogant king live?" the swallow asks. "He lives in his palace," the statue answers. "Where is his palace?" the swallow asks. "He looks down his nose at his people so much that he doesn't want to live in the same place with them like an ordinary person. He moved his palace to the top of Nemrut Mountain, which is the highest point of Adiyaman district. Mount Nemrut is the closest place to the sun. He wants to have everything, even the sun. He believes that having the sun is necessary for his kingdom. He wants the sun to rise and set just for him," the statue answers. "Well, what about his people?" the swallow asks. "His people began to call him the king of the sun, and they have never seen him with his people since he moved his palace. The king never supports his people and leads them to misery. People are desperate and unhappy. Can you do me a favor again?" He shows his boot. "There is a humility ruby in my boot, and my father gave it to me to help arrogant people. Can you take it to the king?" the happy prince asks. The swallow takes the humility ruby and flies so far away. He arrives at Golbasi first. The swallow decides to stay and rest for a while near the Golbasi Lake, which is known as the paradise of birds. He talks with other birds there, and he hears the same sad story from them. The swallow decides to leave at that moment without any hesitation. He leaves there and flies to the kingdom of Nemrut. While flying over the town, he sees many miserable people around. He arrives at Mount Nemrut. The swallow finds the king. The king is so busy with himself that he doesn't even notice the swallow. The swallow puts the ruby of humility on the king's throne and leaves. While turning back, he sees Caracas Tumulus, Sendere Bridge, Per Ancient City, Arsemia Ancient City. He is surprised when he sees that all these places were built by the king for his society before. He feels hopeful again and believes that the king will be humble and devote himself to his people. He turns back to the happy prince. He sits at the prince's feet. He feels tired, but also feels happy and smiles at the prince. I did my job and it's strange. Again, I don't feel cold now. That's because you did something good again, the happy prince tells him. He puts his head under his wing and sleeps. The prince smiles. He is happy again.
Chapter 6. The Ruby of Vision, because Roshneva is a town with a view. The next day, the statue looked sad again. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, please stay with me one more night. Far away in another city called Roshneva, I could see a very miserable girl. She lives in a city with some of the best sights to see in Slovakia, like the Watchtower and the Museum of Mining. Yet she has been blind since she was born, and she cannot enjoy the sights that the city she lives in offers. Little swallow, can you see the ruby on my hat? It's the ruby of vision, and my uncle gave it to me when I hit a branch while riding a horse and blinded myself. But I would much rather the little girl have it, as I've been looking at my city for decades, and I want her to have the opportunity to do the same. So, please, take it to the girl. Fly, beautiful sparrow, fly to the Roshneva. I would do it myself, but as you know, I cannot move because I am stuck in here. The swallow turned around in surprise at such a generous act. Giving someone his vision as a gift, even though it would mean sacrificing his own, is something extraordinary and should be commended. It would be a shame if the swallow failed in this important task, so he spread his wings and flew high towards the clouds. He flew for days and nights, throughout cities, mountains, and forests, until he found the blind girl. She had no idea that her life was about to change, since she couldn't see the swallow, only heard the fluttering of his wings. The little girl lived in a small flat, and when she heard the swallow land on her window ledge, she got scared. But when the swallow dropped the ruby of vision into her palm, a very pleasant feeling swept through the little girl, with so much power that she had to sit down on the floor. Tears of joy filled her gray eyes. This moment will stay with her for the rest of her life as a reminder of what she gained that day. The swallow, now satisfied with what he'd done, left and returned to the happy prince. The swallow sat at the prince's feet, feeling tired but happy, and smiles at the prince. I did my job, and it's strange. I don't feel cold now again. That is because you did something good today, the happy prince tells him. The swallow puts his head under his wing and sleeps. The prince smiles. He is happy again.
Chapter 7. The Ruby of Honesty. Because Leon is the city of well-being. The next day the statue looks sad again. Swallow, little swallow, please stay with me one more night. Far away in another city called Leon, there are many people who find it difficult to be honest with others. They only care about their own good and seek personal benefit. Then the swallow flew over the iconic Basilica of San Isidoro and the Parador de San Marcos, listening to the inhabitants of the city in its different markets, enjoyed the parks full of trees hid among the pinnacles of gargoyles of the imposing cathedral, and he could hear the legend of the emblematic figure of the city, Guzman el Bueno. That story tells in broad strokes that Guzman el Bueno, Alonso Perez de Guzman, defended the city of Tarifa from the siege of the Arabs. These had their son imprisoned, and they appeared before the doors of the Tarifa to demand the surrender of the city. They showed Guzman el Bueno's son and threatened to kill him if the city was not returned to them, and Alonso Perez de Guzman himself gave them his knife to kill him with it, because he preferred to lose his son than hand him over to Tarifa. When this was learned, the swallow informed the happy prince, who gave him the ruby of honesty that was reflected in the historical person, to deposit it on the inhabitants of the city, who since then have been welcoming and trustworthy people. The swallow, now satisfied with what he had done, left and returned to the happy prince. He turns back to him. He sits at the prince's feet. He feels tired but feels happy and smiles to the prince. I did my job, and it's strange, I don't feel cold now again. This is because you did something good today, the happy prince tells him. He puts his head under his wings and sleeps. The prince smiles. He is happy again.
Chapter 8. The Ruby of Power. The next day, when the swallow opened his eyes, the statue was staring at him happily. He was happy because there was only one ruby left. The happy prince was only one step away from being happy forever. The ruby left was the Ruby of Power. He was keeping the last ruby for the swallow. The swallow noticed that the weather was so cold. It started snowing, and the city of Braila was turning whiter every second. The swallow started to cry. While helping the happy prince, he had missed his chance to fly to Egypt, and now it was too late. The little swallow started to cry. The happy prince asked the swallow why he was crying. I missed my chance to immigrate south. I'll die here in the cold, says the swallow. No, you will not, replies the happy prince. My last ruby is for you, the Ruby of Power. Because you helped me a lot, you deserve to take this last ruby and have enough power to fly wherever you want. The swallow was so happy. He grabbed the last ruby from the happy prince's hat, thanked him, and flew away. With the last ruby used for good, the happy prince transformed into human again. The curse was gone. Now it was time for him to go to his hometown to live happily forever.